right, let me see if this is working. Give me a second to get this in order. All right, now we can begin. So, the next chapter of Super is coming out tomorrow, and its basic plot and some different scans were leaked yesterday ahead of the official quote unquote release date. And I observed these scans. And just to be clear, I will be speaking on what I saw. So if anyone wants to wait until they get to read it for themselves, then uh, I'd recommend clicking off. I hate that people actually have to say that. Like if I put spoilers in the title, I would think that people would just leave. They love doing it. Like, why didn't you tell me you would be revealing this plot point? So you had your warning. I did not have a positive opinion of 61 because while I did like the fight between Vegeta and Moro, and it was cathartic to see Moro finally being beaten by somebody again, like because the last person who was really able to do that was Boo. I was really annoyed for what I thought was going to be a very clear ending to the arc with Vegeta defeating him, and then everything goes back to normal. Uh, where he fights him, Moro gets a power up that basically wastes 7-3 as a character. And that's part of another reason why I was upset by that plot development. And then when you add in the fact that we have to wait a month between chapters, and I was trying to explain this to this person because they were saying that the quality is not being positively benefited by this. I said, no, that's really not it. The thing is, when you read a series weekly or when you watch a show weekly, if there's a bad episode or a bad chapter, usually you can just leave it alone because it's only there for 7 days, and then you come back next week, you might get a better one. And if you get a worse one, you can talk about that one instead of the one before. With something that comes out monthly, you have to hope that that episode or chapter or whatever was good enough to hold you over until the next one comes out in 30 days. So you're basically having the same mechanic of if this isn't good, I'll wait for the next one, being stretched out from a week to a week times four. So that's why it's a lot harder to stomach these chapters because if one of them is really not that appealing to you, you just basically are left sitting there having to, hope and pray the next one is better. Because I remember when chapter 52 came out, which is the one where Piccolo was beating up the trio of siblings that came to Earth. I was on board. I loved it. I thought it was just terrific. It might even be my favorite chapter in all of Super. Piccolo is just such a wasted character, especially in a lot of the modern content. Although I will give the Moro arc a little bit of credit for at least giving him multiple fights, which is something that both it and the Tournament of Power have done that I've liked, regardless of whether they let him win or not. That's a different story. But yeah, I didn't have high opinions of this chapter, this previous chapter 61, and I was basically thinking two things were going to happen in this next one. Most of me thought it was just going to be Goku finding a way to get to, that stupid form of his that everybody loves for no reason, Ultra Instinct, and save the day in the most predictable, boring, thing possible. Or, and this was the little 25% chance one I was thinking of, maybe they would have Vegeta find a way. I basically assessed it as what happened with Gohan and Cell, where it looked like Gohan was going to get robbed of defeating Cell, and then Cell came back, but was stronger than he was when he fought Gohan. So I thought maybe they were going to do something like that, where they give the villain a power up to make it seem less one-sided, because there's a trope in Dragon Ball where the villain can't just be defeated outright unless it's a movie. There has to be some kind of real big struggle. This is why outside of Fusion Reborn, you never see a Fusion actually kill a villain, like just straight up defeat them. There has to be some kind of drawn out situation that makes it difficult for the heroes. I mean, it's just a thing that the show likes to do. But regardless of that, um, I said whatever comes out of this chapter, I just hope that it's something that, what's a good way to put it, makes a little bit of sense. And when I saw these panels and I saw Goku getting like plunged through the chest, uh, I was basically just kind of sitting here doing this because if you're not going to let him win, and you're not going to let Vegeta win, and we know you're not going to let any of the humans or Piccolo win, then who the hell is going to be the victor? So then at the end of the chapter in these leaks, they show us a panel where Mirror, who is, I never talk about this character because I find him to be very boring, bland. I don't know what it is. It's like, because, I talk about the Tournament of Power was basically the only arc of Super that I would even remotely consider calling good or saying that the majority of it was all right. But to its credit, it had a lot of new characters that I liked. Dispo, Topo, even Ribrianne to some extent, various people that were not, I knew that I was not disliking or liking due to nostalgia, that I liked specifically because they had some kind of unique personality or character trait. With Moro and Mirror, they're both just these kind of like stoic figures who they don't strike me as having that much of a personality at all. But again, I thought Mirror was just maybe this little mentor character that we would see a little bit of during this arc, and then from that point forward, he would just get some cameos. He was just there to be a plot device, basically, because he acted like when he didn't have that much of a real personality to me, again, in my opinion. So when I see him show up again in this chapter, supposedly to deal with Moro, I start thinking to myself, oh my God, I really hope they don't let him be the one to defeat Moro. And this is just what I'm trying to explain, that I think when a story is written in a way that's trying to be good versus just trying to surprise you, certain narrative things pay off. So me wanting Vegeta to win or Piccolo or whoever is because those specific characters, along with Goku, to be fair, have all shown throughout the course of this arc, which has been going on for almost 2 years now, that they train, that they will not sit by and just lounge around without taking out the main antagonist. So basically, I was just saying that I think it'd be really messed up if the villain is defeated by a character that was basically strong enough to handle him from the start, that all of the gains that the main protagonist made basically were just there to, amounted to pretty much defeating side characters, referring to Moro's minions, which I could do a whole video on how wasted they are. I mean, like 7-3, we had people making videos where they were speculating he was going to take over for Moro, he was going to take his powers, and he was going to become the big bad of the next arc, and it was going to be this great story that's interwoven. And that pretty much, to say that didn't happen, it would be an understatement. All he ended up doing was having, 2 fights, and then disappearing for multiple months / chapters, and then getting absorbed. They basically did to 7-3 what they did to Fat Boo during GT, where you got this really cool character who can have some good interactions with people, and you give him a little bit to do before you reduce him to being part of someone else's power-up. Except this was even more disrespectful because 7-3 didn't even agree to being, integrated into Moro. That's why when they were saying that he looks like Cell, it's basically what Cell did to 17 and 18, where he just said to hell with what you want. Yeah, I just find it really sad that, I get so excited sometimes because I do want to see how this story plays out. That's why I keep reading it. That's why I keep, I guess, waiting over and over. And I am not someone who can't be satisfied. I know that because there have been multiple chapters that out of this arc that I really like. just as with every arc of Super, there were multiple episodes I liked. It was just as a collective story, it falls through because they don't really seem to have an idea of what they're trying to do. Like when these prisoners showed up, I really thought we were going to see Saganbo, who is the main, Moro's like right hand man. We were going to see him do something important. We were going to see 7-3, maybe do something independent of Moro because he had a unique set of powers, and I couldn't imagine Toyotaro would make a character like that just to basically have him have a couple of fights and get turned into a power up. But that seems to be the direction he's went with this story. We're the only one of the new antagonists that's really gotten to be an active part of this tale is Moro. And it's like, why did you even bring these prisoners here in the first place? Like, just think how crazy this is. They had Moro use the Dragon Balls to break these prisoners out. But then a couple of chapters later, when he's on Earth and he basically kills Saganbo by giving him all that energy to fight Goku, he says, "Oh, I don't care about my men because I could just get some more." Well, if you don't care about them, why the hell did you go through the length and the trouble of getting the Dragon Balls? I just want, and people sometimes forget this. He was on Namek for days looking for those things for a group of people that he supposedly doesn't care about. That's them basically trying to make him the new Frieza. I mean, that's all that is, because that's not good writing. When you have a character that will go to lengths like that, and look, it would actually be okay if someone called him out on it. Like one of the characters said, "Oh yeah, you say you don't care about your prisoners, but then I mean about your minions, but you would you would go to these lengths to get them out." And then maybe he's like, "Yeah, you have a point there. Maybe I do care." Like maybe they can make it to where he has a thing where he's reluctant to admit he cares about anybody because he's been alone for so long. But they won't even do something like that. They don't care. He's just, Kevin says, bad story writing. Exactly. I don't even know what, like, Moro has been, uh, I'd actually wager in the story for more chapters than probably literally any antagonist in the entire manga of Super. Because remember, the Goku Black arc in the manga is only like 12 chapters. The Tournament of Power is only 11. And I would say that out of all the antagonists, he's the one I know the least about. Like, I'm informed about his background, but as far as, how he thinks and his personality, it's just so bland. Like, Jesus, I don't know what. You know what this is? They basically have a thing where they can't come up with personalities for villains anymore. So that's why Super stopped using villains. They started like trying to find ways to have antagonistic situations without antagonists. This is why the only new villain in that whole show was Zamasu, who still thought he was doing something good. Uh, and so now that Toyotaro is trying to make a villain, he's forgetting to give him a personality. Which again, if Moro just didn't have a character, like he was just a cardboard cutout villain, which he kind of is, that would be whatever. But you make all these characters train. So Kevin, what it is that Toriyama will give an outline of what he wants in a certain arc, and basically Toyotaro can do whatever he wants in between. And Toyotaro has a unspecified level of influence on what ends up happening in the story. So, for example, in the Future Trunks arc, it was Toyotaro's idea to bring Vegito, Goku and Vegeta's fused form, into it because Toriyama wanted Goku and Vegeta as blues to defeat Merge Zamasu. But Toyotaro was like, "No, we need to bring back Vegito because fans expect it." Yeah. So maybe that answers your question. I don't know. Also, there are a lot of people, including myself, who had a very negative opinion of the manga's adaptation of the Tournament of Power, because the Tournament of Power in the show is 50 episodes, and the arc in the manga is like 10 or 11. So a lot of us think that he skipped or he like rushed through the tournament to get to this story, where he's basically been dragging his feet. I mean, this thing's been going on for almost 2 years. This arc started in, what was that, October 2018. the year before last. And here we are going into, we know that this arc isn't ending with this chapter, which comes out tomorrow. So we're going to probably be in this arc until at least September. What a way to drag something out. It's the longest arc in the whole manga. So I hope I answered your question, Kevin. Elliot says people aren't happy with Moro's new form. Aha. Well, there were a lot of people who were crying about the design. I didn't really think one way of it or the other. I did like his original design more, but I was more annoyed by the fact that just like what they did with Oob, where they basically remove Boo from GT to make a form that doesn't even end up actually doing anything and waste Boo as a character. They gave Moro this new form that wasted 7-3 as a character. I'm gonna have to do a why 7-3 was wasted video. I can't wait to do that. We're gonna have to go. We're gonna like be like, oh, remember when he had that fight, and then he vanished for months, and nobody knew what happened to him. The only things I saw in those leaks that I thought were okay were that Krillin and Dende are trying to help the group that's fighting Moro, but they have this Moro put up this barrier to where they can't get in there. Because I figured it's like Krillin had vanished after, I think it was like chapter 58. I was like, I don't believe he would just go home. Like his whole character is that he doesn't care how outmatched he is. He's always going to help his friends. And I'm supposed to believe that once he catches wind of the fact that they're losing, he's just going to sit at home. He's just, while his wife is over there. Yeah, Kevin, in the plot summary, he regretted not giving them sensu beans. And I don't know what you put in that little question mark on. He's actually, out of any character that's not Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, and maybe Gohan, he's been the most recurring out of the heroes in this arc. And they've given him at least 2 or 3 different fights in this arc. So I don't know what that's how you know Kevin hasn't even been reading the story. And again, the point I was making was I like the fact that they're bringing him back into the story because it didn't make sense for him to basically say, I'm going to just go home while my best friend and my wife are getting murdered by this little goat that fused with this other person. I wonder if Goku is dead. No, they don't kill off Goku anymore. He has plot armor at this point. He only died in Z. No, Kevin, Goku only died twice. It is funny when people like try to joke about Krillin dying 3 times when if you actually consider, if you count Super, Vegeta has died just as many times, along with Piccolo and Chaozu. Like they as a group have all died several times. But only one of them gets mocked for it. I think they're going to save that for Mirrors. Mirrors is the character they're trying to make seem so cool and amazing and able to do all this stuff. And like Kevin wrote, he had it rough in Z. Everybody that wasn't Goku, Vegeta, or Gohan had it rough in Z. It's like you didn't win. Welcome to the club. Someone actually pointed this out to me. I didn't even realize it. They said that once Vegeta switched over to being a quote unquote protagonist in the Cell arc, his like win to loss ratio just got cut in half. Where the only person he could beat after he switched was 19 and what in Perfect Cell, and that was it. After that, he just kept losing over and over. And that's what they do whenever you're a protagonist. You're not allowed to be cool. Like you'll have that one really cool moment when you show up, and then after that, it's just all downhill from there. Unless you're Goku. I already said that Super is tailor made to just be the Goku show 2.0. I don't think Mirrors is going to defeat Moro because it would be way too easy for him. Well, I just can't get over the idea that a character we just got introduced to is going to beat a main villain. I just don't buy that. I think what will probably end up happening is he shows up and he uses some kind of stall tactic, and then maybe when that barrier goes down, Krillin heals some of the people over there and they take him out together. Something like that. I know there's one person they said that if this arc goes on until November, we're gonna call these the Moro years. What happened to the purple bunny? Purple bunny. I don't know who this purple bunny is. I know a purple cat. If you're asking what happened to him, he's sitting on his home turf. I think he's been in maybe like 3 chapters this whole arc. He's been a really minor character, and it's actually pretty funny because when Super first came out, a lot of the fans of this series were trying to say, "Oh, it's about Goku, Vegeta, and the gods." And then as the show went on, Beerus and Whis' role got smaller and smaller and smaller. Because it's almost like they wanted that at first, and then they just started slowly integrating the rest of the cast back into the story. But I would argue that what actually ended up happening was that they realized you can't have stakes if you have two characters who are stronger than Goku and the rest of the cast just hovering and babysitting them all day long. That's why Resurrection F didn't work for me. You have Frieza saying he wants to blow up the planet, and then Beerus is just sitting right over there. He's not, and you know he's not going to let him do it because he has all those meals on that planet he likes so much. So there's no stakes. Yeah, Kevin Beerus has been basically just reduced to a like all he does now is just sit back and talk. The last time he did something cool in Super was when he killed a certain character with one move, and that was it. What about the latest Broly movie? Yeah, he doesn't do anything there either except babysit. I mean, I get why people like him, but he's a character that does not work for what the show is apparently trying to do. That's why they keep giving him these minor roles. They're like, I can't believe they made Master Roshi come out of retirement. Well, hell, at least he doesn't break the story. He can actually fight, and even if he doesn't win, at least he's not someone who we know is infinitely stronger than Goku to where it doesn't even make sense for them to be worried about beating the main villain or not. Yeah, I do a video on like why Beerus was overused and explain what I'm talking about before people think I'm hating on the cat. I said ages ago Moro will lose at some point and Frieza will take him in and then get betrayed later on. They did have a panel of Frieza. It's not actually in the manga, so there's a Toyotaro will occasionally draw pages that don't count as a chapter, but they're just little add-ons. And there's a page of Frieza reacting to Moro, like not actually seeing him, but he's being briefed about him, and he like basically says we're staying away from that. Elliot says, yeah, Beerus is kind of a waste. Well, he just doesn't work as a character in this show. If you want to have a show where it's about the main protagonist, quote unquote, reaching new levels of strength and defeating new adversaries that push him further, how is he supposed to actually have stakes if you have this character who is his mentor, who is on the side of good, that just hovers over him? Well, that's what I said, Beyblade, that he had one cool moment, and then what did he do for the rest of that show besides yell and sit on the bench? Yell and sit around. Like you could literally take him out of every arc of Super except the Battle of Gods stuff or saga, whatever you want to call it, that movie, and then when the show adapted it, and the Future Trunks arc, and you'd miss nothing except some commentary. Yeah, he's a really. I don't. I just don't think they were really planning on. I'll touch on that later. I don't think they were planning on doing this series with a character like that in mind. I think Battle of Gods was just supposed to be this like one last hurrah, and then it did so well that they decided to keep it going. I'm glad me and Elliot agree. But, they love doing that. The characters that they can't that break the story or don't really add anything good to it, they use over and over again. But then the ones that you could actually get something cool off of, nothing. Battle of Gods was okay. The red hair was stupid though. I mean, like I said, I'm after the first God form. I've been kind of sick of transformations. We've been getting one every single arc. Like in Super, we had, let's count them. We had God. We had Super Saiyan God. We had that crap that Trunks turned into when he was fighting Black. We have Super Saiyan Rose. We have, well, no, Vader. It's coming out tomorrow. Ultra Instinct. There's a form for every season of that show. Oh, and Royal Blue, that thing that Vegeta had. So 6 new forms. Outside of Ultra Instinct, very little stuff is actually explained about each one. There's no foreshadowing. Well, Kevin, it's called, the form is, you can look it up. It's called Super Saiyan Rage, but the show never told us its name. And it's basically like Super Saiyan, but with blue stuff coming out. It was weird. And it came out of nowhere. When is the next live act? Oh, I don't know, Ruben. There will be no new live action movie. So yeah, Vader the chapter comes out on the every month on the 20th, except if it's a weekend. So in just what is it, under 30 hours from now, you'll be able to read this masterpiece. Yeah, I know Ruben's like, where's my why Chi Chi was wasted video? I'm working on it. I'm trying to get some unique art done for that, so I'm not trying to rush it. Although I know Ruben is unfair, so he likes to. Well, Kevin, I'm glad you said that because Legacy of Goku 2 actually called Super Saiyan 2 Super Saiyan Rage. And they basically stole that name from that game and stuck it on the new form. Evolution characters to get brought into. It's coming out tomorrow, Beyblade, who I've never seen before. Unless you've had like a name change or something. People love doing that. They change their name and then they also change their we call it their avatars. Like who is that? Now Ruben loves writing those troll messages. He's really serious about politics, but when he comes in here about Dragon Ball, he loves to troll. It's like, when's Evolution 2? Or should I say, Tuvolution? It's not happening. So this chapter was again, I don't like the ending, but the parts in between seem all right. I don't know. It's just been like a really slippery. Look at what Beta wrote. Well, I'm sure there is some hentai of more out there. I wouldn't be surprised. That stupid movie actually teased a sequel during the end. Oh, I know they did. but they didn't expect for it to bomb as badly as it did. And I noticed a lot of people who've never seen Dragon Ball were okay with that film because they don't know what the source material is. Elliot says, "I hope Goku dies." I mean, go read what is that, chapter 10 of them of Z, and then was it like chapter 200 something, whatever one it is, where he sacrificed himself against Cell, and you'll have your wish. He's already died. I missed other stream because sleep. Now you missed other stream because you didn't feel like attending. We know the real reason. Unless I'm talking about Moro, Dio won't show. So we already your noodle is cooked. We caught you. Now I don't even want to read any more of your comments because I've been so neglected. Which was worse, DB Evolution or Street Fighter: Legend of Chun-Li? Both premiered in the same year. I didn't see the Street Fighter film, so if that's any, I can't really answer that. Like I said, you could take Evolution, The Last Airbender, all the rest of those adaptations, and just throw them in the trash. I'd watch Street Fighter over DB. I'd watch Street Fighter over DBE. Yeah, I probably would too. I mean, that's because I know one is awful. The other one I've heard about. If Goku dies, then Toy will just bring him back to life like all the previous times Goku died. Yeah, that's why I don't understand why anyone wants any of the characters to die anymore if all it does is take them out of the story just for them to get brought back a couple episodes later. I was going to do a video on why Piccolo was wasted in Super, and I was going to mention how for Resurrection F, in the movie he lives, but in the show's adaptation, they changed it to have him die sacrificing himself for Gohan. And then like 3 episodes later, he's brought back. Like nothing happened. It's like, what even was the point of that? Death is meaningless. That's why they have to erase universes now. Erasing universes is meaningless because they can just bring them back with Super Dragon Balls. And that's why the Tournament of Power conceptually was dumb, because it's like you're going to make 70 or 60 something new characters for one arc just to never use them again. Are we really supposed to believe that? Really? Yes, he is still around, Ruben. I don't know why Ruben won't read the arc. I bet if Anna Navarro was in it, he'd read it. The Omni King should destroy the Dragon Balls for good. Now get rid of the Super Dragon Balls. I hate those things. I don't know why those exist. So the Super did a lot of stuff I just thought was dumb, and that's one of them. If you already had Dragon Balls on Earth, why did you need a Super pair? Super Dragon Balls are the worst thing to happen in DBZ, but they didn't happen in DBZ. They happened in DBS. Theo can't even name the right show. Dende isn't Super. Yeah, a little bit, Kevin. They don't really do anything with him at all anymore. The only thing he did in that whole show, from what I remember, is in the episode where Goku goes to recruit 17, he mentions Oob. And that's like one of only 2 times we hear Oob get mentioned in that whole show. Dio actually said Super Dragon Balls were in DBZ. Like, really, Dio? I'm gonna type that. I'm gonna say it just like how he said his line. I'm gonna parody him. There you go. Can't believe he would forget which show those debuted in. He needs to go do his go back to Dragon Ball University. DBU. Super Dragon Balls are stupid because it takes away from Namek lore. Yeah, I thought they were made on Namek. What? Why? How the hell does the? That's why I said it's stupid. What are the Namek? They're called the Namekian Dragon Balls because they're on Namek. Yeah, Purunga. I'm glad Dio has looked at enough pictures of Purunga to know his physique. And then Ruben says all male slug race. Well, apparently the reason for that is because Toriyama has had trouble drawing chicks or something. I don't know. I kind of like, uh, you know, Namekians as a concept where you have a character who can just, if they want to reproduce, all they have to do is just spit out an egg and then the kid is born. So I think in that instance, it's all right. It's not a big deal. Besides, it's just one race in that whole show that's like that. Let's see. Where did Bader go? He just vanished. He can't. He said F Moro when he dipped out. I'd like Nail if you remember him. How could I not? Kevin, I'm not one of these people who only saw Super and Kai, and that's my whole exposure to the series. I've seen all the shows except Heroes. I saw a little bit of that, and then I clicked off forever. Yeah, this is a stupid idea. Review your email. Uh, over here. Piccolo needs to cough up an egg. Well, he has the ability to do that, as confirmed by Toriyama. Like he literally has anything King Piccolo could do. Piccolo Jr. can do. So he can turn giant. He can spit out eggs. He has eternal youth. That's why he never is supposed to look older than from when we first saw him. Does Piccolo reach new powers? Um, Technically, but it doesn't matter. Like they have him train, and I said before, it's him, Tien, Goku, and Vegeta that train all the time. But because this is the Saiyan show, Piccolo and Tien are not allowed to actually be able to catch up or keep up. Guru, Ruben. Ruben's acting like I'm the new DB Wiki. He just asked me a bunch of questions. He wouldn't even use the actual encyclopedia filled with all those Dragon Ball experts. He acts like I'm the expert that that whole website is obsolete compared to me. Piccolo should have used his dad's powers when fighting Nappa and Vegeta, but was not allowed to steal Goku's spotlight. Well, the one thing I would have changed about the Saiyan arc, because I don't like all these deaths, they're getting kind of redundant. I would have had Piccolo just get knocked out by that blast from Nappa, and then like recover from a sensu bean or something, and had Grade 8 Vegeta versus giant Namekian Piccolo. Wouldn't that have been cool? It's two giants fight because we've never had that before in the whole show. Yeah, Ruben, the Dragon Ball Wiki is ran by clowns. I mean, like some of the stupidest people originate from that website. I'm thoroughly convinced. The Naruto wiki is great. The One Piece wiki is great. The Avatar wiki is great. That's the only wiki that is worth that used to look good that got screwed up. Because I told you what happened was when Super came back on the air, the people who used to write the character pages and episodes, all that stuff, they vanished. Like they left the site. And then the people who came over there then started writing a paragraph for every episode. So that made basically anyone who like Goku and Vegeta's pages just get 2 and 3 times bigger than what they were before. Galaxy Supreme Prod. I was well, greetings back from the U.S. I was shocked with the leaks. Who do you think will destroy Moro? Well, my heart is telling me Vegeta, but my brain is telling me Goku. You know what I would love for them to do? Because Piccolo has those stretchy arms. They could have Piccolo restrain Moro, and then Vegeta like uses that move to the energy thing to undo the fusion with 7-3, and then kill Moro after that. I think that would be perfect because it would let Piccolo be basically in a role that's similar to what Vegeta did for Gohan against Cell, where he doesn't defeat the main villain, but he's the main person to assist with defeating the main villain. And since Moro did all that stuff on Namek, it ties back into Piccolo being the third most important hero in this arc. Like I said before, he's appeared more often than anybody that's not Goku, Vegeta, or Moro. So Galaxy says, I wish it was Vegeta. I think all the fans expect a more satisfactory ending for him. Yeah, you know, they were really hoping for something, like all that training to pad out. But because this is Dragon Ball, if your name isn't Goku, we have no satisfying conclusion for you. Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to read Ruben's comments. I've been missing them. So he says this in response to my proposed Grade Ape Vegeta versus Big, what was it? What's that form called? Giant Namekian Piccolo. Yeah, that would have been great. Toriyama's supposedly a big fan of Keiju movies too. Yeah, I know a lot of people like that Piccolo died because it was character development and whatnot, but I just think they really missed out having the two of them fight. Um, Ruben says the Dragon Ball Wiki editor should be hired by Wikipedia to manage Kamala Harris's Wikipedia article. Well, I told you that the guy who made that page, or who not made that page, the guy who was editing that page, at any point they wanted to, those people could have stopped him from editing it, and they didn't care until that article was written on how stupid they were. So, it just shows you that people only care after certain other people. It's just like a hive mind, pretty much. That was because English Kai was distributed by 4Kids. I'm pretty sure that Kai is uncensored in Japan. Yeah, Japan doesn't. They don't have the. Well, what it is that in Japan the censorship rules have changed from the U.S. Not from the U.S. From how they were in the past. So there's like in Super, the actual show, there's less blood than there was in Z because they've gotten more strict with what you can show in a cartoon. Uh, so that's why the manga for Super is more violent in terms of just showing blood than the show is. Okay. Dio says, imagine your home planet getting entangled for the second time and still being too much of a weak to do anything about it. Yeah, Dio, that's why I was really hoping they would let Piccolo at least be able to do something tomorrow, but it doesn't look like that's going to occur, which sucks. But it is what it is. I guess that's just me being stupid. Oh no, Boo is out of the story, Dio. Remember, he already beat up Moro. They've had him. You know what's crazy? This arc started with him getting kidnapped, and now he's been sleeping for most of it. Imagine that an arc starts with you getting kidnapped, and then you spend most of that arc. You get one fight, and then you go right back to sleep. Oh, I'm so done with this show, I swear. All right, give me a second. I'm about to call this person. All right, sorry about that. I had to deal with some buffoonery that's going on. Okay, Kevin asked, is episode of Bardock uh still canon? No. Um if you watch the Broly movie, so if you remember Goku getting taken in by Grandpa Gohan as a baby, all that stuff is no longer canon. Those are all Toei creations. I've never seen a show where they just say to hell with what you saw 20 years ago, we're going to do our own thing and completely ignore that. Super Boo and Kid Boo managed to split off Fat Boo and become their own separate beings. Well, yeah, Fat Boo, I said before, is the only one of the three of them that actually really got to live up to what to his potential in that arc, where he has like a character arc of being this not evil being, but this being that really doesn't have a moral. What's a good way of putting it? Is not grounded in the reality of what he does to other people with his powers, to then becoming friends with the human and wanting to save the earth. And then the other two forms of Boo are basically just destructive, you know, roadblocks for the protagonist to overcome. I mean, that's an idea of mine of what should happen in Super. Like I said, they love playing this game where every chapter, like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And you get the chapter, you go, oh, yeah. Because I told you at the start of the stream, they basically just they're Toyotaro's in a bad position because if you have a chapter that's bad, whereas with the anime for that episode that was bad, you could come back and watch it next week, and next episode might be good. Whenever he has a bad chapter, we have to sit there for a month with a bad taste in our mouth, waiting for the next one and hoping that it's not as awful as it came before it. Super Boo is just Frieza Redux. Um, I mean, he's just like he's there. He doesn't. I never understood why people like him at all, other than the way he looks. So I don't really get the appeal of that character. The only form of Boo I like is Fat Boo or Good Boo, whichever way you want to call him. Hey, there are people they want Resurrection B. They're like, when's Kid Boo coming back? Never. He has come back as Oob. That's who he is. Oh, Ruben, if Super Boo was just Frieza Redux, they'd let him come back 3 or 4 separate times. I just realized he's in every arc. Let me count this. He's in Z. He's in the Frieza saga. Oh, I'd love Dabura to come back. I'll do a whole video on why Dabura was wasted. But Frieza's in the Frieza saga, the Cell saga. Technically, he's in Boo, but that's only filler, so I won't count it. He's in Resurrection F. He's in The Tournament of Power. He's in the Broly movie. Oh my god. So that's like what, 4 arcs of Frieza? But then we only get 1 arc of Cell. How fair is that? I told you Cell is the least appearing of any if you count because again, Fat Boo is still Boo from the Boo saga. It's one of them, but it's still, technically Boo anyway. So literally, the only villain that only gets to appear in 1 arc from Z is Cell, except in hallucinations and flashbacks and the rest of that junk. Kevin says, "Remember when Oob and Fat Boo fused in GT? What a waste!" Yeah, I did a whole video on that. Why Oob was wasted. And I talked about how they took Boo out of the story and made him part of Oob's power up, and it doesn't even defeat the main villain. And the power up is for a character that literally isn't even in half the show. But that's great writing. They made that form just to sell toys and appear in video games. Resurrection D, bring back Dabura. Yeah, Dabura's a really, it's like king of the demon world, and all he gets to do is be Babidi's lackey. And get killed right after. Oh, I hate that so much. Cell is too perfect for Super. Well, he is in that show. It's just not. What's a good way of putting it? He only shows up in flashbacks, and then there's an episode where Goku and Krillin go into this forest, and they see all the different villains from Z, and Cell is among them. But it still isn't technically Cell in the flesh showing up again. You said Toya. It's Toa. Like you're towing a car with an A at the end of it. Personally, I think Mira is boring, but whatever. Didn't Dabura turn good in Hell? Only in filler. There's so much stuff that's filler that people don't even like. It's like, is Cell and Z after the Cell saga? Yes, in filler. No, she's actually probably the only intimidating female antagonist in the whole series in anything that isn't like someone's lackey or something. So I wouldn't have a problem with them making her canon. But remember, only character that gets to be made canon is Broly because he was so great and amazing. You have people who are saying, "Where's Broly? I want Broly in the Moro arc. Where's Broly? Where's Broly?" I said, listen, I don't care how much you love him. I don't care how much you think he's cool. He's never going to be part of the main cast. He's always just going to be this dude that they drag out so some kids can jump and get excited for another Saiyan that shows up every like 3 arcs, if not less. As I said before, if the Super writers are being confident, they would bring Cooler to Super. There's a lot of characters they could bring back that are nice. Like when in my Why Piccolo Was Wasted video for the Resurrection F stuff, I said they should have brought for the saga, not the movie. Because remember, the movie every minute has to count, but in the saga you can basically write whatever you'd like in that timeline, not timeline in that series of episodes. They should have brought back the Ginyu Force with Frieza. And they could have had each of the Z fighters fight a different Ginyu Force member. I don't know why they never bring back any of his top guys, who apparently are stronger and more competent than the ones he's been using since. Of course he is, Kevin. He's the fastest in the universe. So why wouldn't he be a beast? I like how Ruben says the super writers. They're not super. I call them the stupid writers. If the super writers were confident, they're not. They are not confident at all. I could come up with a better story while I was drunk. Because again, a lot of this is not really to tell a good story. It's just to sell toys. That's why Moro gets a new form. That's why Merge Zamasu exists. It's just to sell toys. People aren't trying to tell good stories anymore. What are your top 5 animes? Um, I like the original Naruto. I'm not going to say I like Shippuden as a show because I read it as a manga. The show is just so much damn felt like I'm good. I think One Piece as a show was good until Jaya, and after that they just start stretching out the episodes. I'm good, but the actual manga, I love it. It's great, in my opinion, except for Dressrosa. So I probably would. What's a good way of saying it? Yeah, 3 of them probably, and then maybe Ron the One Half. I don't know. Oh, don't start with that Z Super nonsense. I hate that so much. People love a show they can't even get the name of it correct. What's Jiren's purpose? To be a bland character that has no personality. Well, you know what, Jiren, they actually botched him because he was supposed to have Topo's personality, like be this big heroic character, and then that got scrapped, and they just didn't know what to do with him. So they gave him a origin story all the way at the end of the series, like 4 episodes before the show was over. I don't think Jiren is good even as a toy. Well, between you and me, there's a person who loves him so much that they've drawn I think a whole comic and 100+ pictures of him paired with the character he's never even met before. ZGT. Yeah, I don't know. I guess people think that the franchise is called Z. It's just Dragon Ball. I don't. People are strange to me. Don't you like Death Note? You've never heard me once talk about Death Note. Yeah, Dio. I saw a little bit of Yu Yu when I was younger, but I haven't seen it since then. So, hopefully, all the questions have been answered. Like the Q&A session. I told you, knowing that the Tournament of Power is longer than the Saiyan saga, and in the Saiyan saga, we got at least what 3 or 4 developed characters. That's all you need to know about just how many people they had in there. Uh, have I heard of that show before? I don't think so. We're gonna have Kevin step into the Grand Tour. Yeah, but out of those villains that they should make canon, I'd say Cooler, Janemba. Who else? I'm trying to think of it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it as far as movie villains I'd like to see canon. That's not an unpopular opinion. It's very unpopular. There's already people outside his house with pitchforks and petitions to get him banned from whatever country he's in. Man, we don't even have any DV stuff anymore. You guys talk about all these different shows. It's like, really? Mm. Like I said, I will review the Moral arc once it's over, whether it ends this year or in 2022. No, I have not heard about the Nick Cannon situation, and I've got some scripts I've written, and I'll try to see if I can finish at least one of them this week to do my weekly Dragon Ball video. Anyways, I'm about to get out of here because I got some stuff I got to take care of. So thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Um, and have a good rest of your Sunday. See you later.